The world ending on December 21st, 2012. Y2K, Thomas Dewey beating Harry Truman in the 1948 presidential election. What do they all have in common? Their predictions that were horribly wrong. I'll add my Florida LSU predictions to the bunch, only on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day, every day, available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. Happy Thursday. I am Brandon Olsen. You can find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. I'm also the founder of Whole9Sports.com, where you can find all of my written work. Of course, I mentioned we're going to get into my predictions for Florida LSU. At the end of the show, we're going to take a look at Marco Wilson, who's exceeded expectations like a mother father so far. But first, we're going to get into the offensive predictions of Florida versus LSU. And I'm just going to get right into it right now. 250 plus rushing yards. That's a lot. I get it. But I'm trying to throw more specific stats out there instead of just broad predictions. When I say 250 plus rushing yards, I wanted to go higher than that. But I wanted to be a little more realistic. LSU's run defense has struggled a ton this year. They had two good games against McNeese State and Central Michigan, where those two teams combined for 107 yards in their games versus LSU. McNeese State, I believe, had 56 and Central Michigan had 51, or flip-flop that. But they allow 156 yards per game, including those two games where they were absolutely stellar against significantly worse competition. So I'm thinking Florida can put up a ton of rushing yards against them, because Florida ain't playing around. We're going to run the ball. We're going to get big plays here. I want to see more Dameon Pierce carries. I want to see more Naquan Wright carries. I want to see more Malik Davis carries, assuming he's playing. I want to see Emory Jones, Anthony Richardson, Jacob Copeland. Let me see him get involved. I want us to run the ball because we are going to kill LSU if we run the ball with any sort of consistency. And I don't mean consistency in the form of execution. I am confident that in the form of execution, Florida, they're going to be great. Whether you run the ball one time or 50 times, they're going to be great. I am more talking about running it often. That's what I think we should do. I think we would dominate LSU if that's how we approach this game. I also think that, 40 plus point game incoming. Dan Mullen obviously went into Vanderbilt game pissed. He went into halftime against Vanderbilt pissed. He's probably going to come into this game pissed because, well, let's be honest. We won 42-0 to Vanderbilt. Should have won by more. Should have put up more than 42 at the very least. Just because I get 42 is a lot. But Vanderbilt's Vanderbilt. They suck in every aspect of the game of football. So Florida should have put up more than 42. I think Dan Mullen's pissed that they didn't. Look at how we came out of the half last week. I think Florida tries to come out of the game this week doing that. Just start the game, take deep shots, throw bombs. I don't care. Do something, get creative, get fun with it. I think Florida comes out pissed. I think Dan Mullen is pissed. I think Florida's going to come into this game wanting to put up points, whether it's going up tempo, throwing bombs, running the ball with that wide zone, specifically that split zone read that we love so much, or I love so much, and I talk about all the time. I think Florida's going to put up points in this game, and I'll get into more of a reason of why I think they'll do that in the second segment. But right now, I think we're going to put up 40 points at least. I think that, this is probably going to be horribly wrong, like I mentioned the predictions at the very beginning of the episode. But I think Florida wants to put up points. I think Florida is pissed going into this game. I think that our offense can be better than it has been. I think that there's a little bit more faith in the deep ball now with Emory connecting with Jacob Copeland last week and Dameon Pierce last week. I get Dameon Pierce is wide open. I genuinely don't give a damn. I get that Jacob Copeland could have had a bigger gain had it been a better ball. I genuinely don't give a damn because Emory Jones is at least getting the ball to his receivers with the ability to make a play on the ball deep downfield. And I think that's what Dan Mullen was looking for. So Vanderbilt kind of showed us like, hey, Emory can at least get the ball there trust them a little bit to do so. And now we get to see that. And I think we're going to see it a lot more often for the remainder of the year. We've got LSU coming up. We've got Georgia coming up after next week's bye. And we're going to have to be able to challenge vertically to kind of get this defense backed off so that our run game can excel the way that we know they can. So I think we're going to put up over 40 again this week. I mentioned yesterday, I think LSU is going to score a bit, but I think Florida is going to score enough to cover the spread, which is 10.5. And I think Florida is going to score enough to hit the over. So that's why I'm saying another 40-point game is incoming back-to-back weeks. And I make this prediction every week. No turnovers, a turnover-free football game for the Florida Gators. Hear me out this time. LSU hasn't forced a turnover in their past 2 games against Kentucky and Auburn. They haven't forced a turnover. With all their injuries, it's difficult for them to get to make a play on the ball because Derek Stingley's hurt. You got a whole lot of injuries and that defense, and it's very difficult to make plays on the ball without your biggest playmakers. That's a hard thing to do. We saw, obviously, this whole year, Florida's defense has not been a ball hawking defense, and I'm not just saying secondary. I mean linebackers. Daquan Newkirk has a pick. He's at the top of the list with this team for interceptions. So we've got guys that are near the top of the list, but we've got guys that haven't been making plays on the ball. LSU has that same issue, except their excuse at least is that they're missing some of their top guys on defense. They're missing their top guy on defense who very well could be a top 3 pick in the NFL draft this coming year. So I don't know how this defense is going to force takeaways from Florida. Granted, Florida's been turnover prone, I'll say, but I mean, it's going to be tough for them. And I want to say that I have the faith in our team, both Emory and Anthony, and I trust our backs and our receivers to not put the ball on the ground. That hasn't happened much this year. I have full faith in this team to put up points and kind of get into this one and get through this one without turning the ball over. And I could be horribly wrong. I've said I'm going to make this prediction pretty much week in, week out, because it's something that I want to see from this team, especially with this tough stretch of the schedule coming up. So I'm putting absolute faith in them. Once again, I cannot wait to be let down. All right, y'all. I'm just going to say a big thank you to SweatBlock because I'm letting you know it's hot behind these lights. I got a light here. I got a light here. It's hot behind these lights. Look at this. You can see. Just look at my hands. It's hot behind these lights. But thankfully, I've got SweatBlock, and SweatBlock keeps me from sweating like a mother father. SweatBlock is stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. I would know. I've been using them for years. I'm gross. You simply apply it at night before bedtime. Go to sleep, wake up, shower, and bam, just go about your day without worrying about sweat. It's guaranteed. And I know that sounds way too good to be true, but I'm a gross person. I sweat a lot. It's not my fault. I was born that way. And SweatBlock, I only have to use it once, maybe twice per week, and it keeps me dry. Use promo code LOCKEDON, that is LOCKED, no space, ON, to get 20% off at sweatblock.com, or get it on Amazon, where it is a top seller, or get it at CVS. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are free and available on all platforms, of course. Taking a look at the defensive predictions for this game, this is going to be, I know that I literally just before the ad break, I was talking about how Florida's defense does not force takeaways. I'm flip-flopping on that already. I think this is going to be a multiple takeaway game. We're going to go into this game, and again, I mentioned trying to put up 40-plus points. That's something that I think we're going to do. That's another reason I think this is going to be a multiple takeaway game. I don't think we could put up 40-plus without taking the ball away. Maybe a defensive touchdown. Not saying that, but maybe. Without taking the ball away and getting us good field position and kind of flipping momentum. But also, I think Florida wants to turn this game into a shootout. LSU's hurting offensively. Like that's without a doubt, that's an unequivocal, undeniable fact. LSU, they're going to have to try to keep up if we can turn this one into a shootout. And LSU won't be able to keep up. So that's why it's like, yeah, turn this into a shootout and we're going to beat the brakes off of them. It's as simple as that. LSU will not be able to keep up with Florida if we can turn this into a shootout. They can try, but they're going to turn the ball over if they try. They're going to try to throw the ball deep while they're missing their best weapon. So I think that, Florida turns this one into a shootout. LSU, they're going to turn it over multiple times. They're going to throw picks specifically, maybe strip sack here and there. We've got a fantastic defensive line. I see them getting home quite a bit this week. I'm very excited to watch this. I'm very pumped for this because I hate LSU and I have a lot of LSU fan friends and I hate them. You can figure out if I'm talking about the school or my friends, but that's what I'm talking about. I hate this. Oh my God, I laughed at my own joke. I'm such a scumbag. I'm so sorry. LSU scores less than 20 is my next prediction. As always, I'm expecting to give up a couple of home runs here and there. That's just my expectation. I get it. Last week, it didn't happen. Maybe, just maybe that was an anomaly. I'm looking at this schedule and I'm looking at teams like USF and FAU that put up points when they shouldn't have. Kentucky got big plays when they shouldn't have. Every team that we've played has put up big points or has put up big plays when they shouldn't have done so. And so, yeah, I think LSU, obviously Vanderbilt didn't do it. LSU, as hurt as they are, and as much as they've been down bad recently, I don't see them not getting a big score here and there, and maybe even a good drive here and there that they just earn these points. But for the most part, I think we murder LSU. I'm just go Tigers. No, I think we murder them. I'm gonna let you know that. That's something where I think we're gonna demolish LSU defensively. I think we're just gonna get to them, but I still think I think they get at least a big score here and there, but I think they score less than 20 overall. That's my thing. Maybe they get a good drive. Maybe they earn points. I don't think so, but maybe. And I just think, Florida's defense, I think if they played like they played last week, but they get off the field a little bit more, it's RIP for LSU. It's as simple as that. I think that our defensive line is going to come out angry. They're going to come out fierce. They're going to come out hungry, and they're going to demolish LSU. And our secondary is going to be able to reap the rewards, reap the benefits, whatever you want to say. But I think our secondary is going to get the takeaways, and our secondary is going to have a lot of fun, assuming they don't blow coverages, which I'm not even going to knock on wood because, they do that. So it makes no sense. Next is, I said that we'll have 250 plus rushing yards. Wouldn't be surprised if that number hits 300. But I think LSU has less than 60 rushing yards. They're averaging about 85, averaging about 3 yards per carry, which is terrible, by the way. I know in the NFL, you're like, oh, like 4 yards per carry is kind of the number you want to hit. In college, it's usually 5. Some guys have 6. It's insane. Or at least like 4.5. At least average that. But LSU's been terrible at running the ball this year. Florida's been fantastic at defending the run. I think we're giving up less than 3 yards per carry. Also, take into effect that I said that I think Florida's defensive line is going to hit home and maybe get a couple sacks here and there against LSU. College has these like dumb stat things where I don't know why I said stat things. They're dumb stats that college has where sacks count as rushes for losses. I think that's ridiculous. I think that's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And I think Florida's going to get home with a few sacks. So I think we cook here against the run. That's one of the reasons that our run defense looks so good because we get sacks and those count as rushes for losses, which again, one of the dumbest things on the planet. But Florida's going to get home against LSU. LSU's already been struggling to run the ball. So I think Florida's going to just feast here. And I think this is one of those games where talent wise, it's not as big as the score will indicate because I think matchup wise, Florida matches up really well against LSU this year. That's where I'm at. It's like last year we were way better than them and we just blew it the whole time. This year, I still think we're way better than them, but I think that Florida just matches up really well against LSU. Like we're good where they're not, and they're hurt right now, and we're banged up, but not really hurt throughout the way they are. So I think we match up really well where they don't in the sense of, our run game's fantastic. That's great for us. Their run game hasn't been good. Their run game is terrible, or their run defense hasn't been good. Their run offense is terrible. Our run defense is phenomenal. So I think we're looking at things like that, and it's like we match up really, really well. And I think that's why this game's going to be a blowout. I don't necessarily think LSU is as bad as their record shows or as bad as this game might show, assuming it goes the way I think it will go. But I think LSU's hurt and we match up really well. So I think that's why it's going to be a blowout. Needs something to do with your stimulus tax refund, GameStop, Dogecoin, NIL, BetOnline, however you get your money, I don't care. Visit rockauto.com right now for all of your car parts needs. You guys know I am dumb as bricks when it comes to cars. That makes me sound really bad, but I'm completely useless when it comes to doing things with my car. I don't know. My family is really good at it. I get to use rockauto.com's catalog because it's unique and remarkably easy to navigate. And even I can find the things I need. I had to buy a spark plug. I don't know what that does. I'm sorry. And the thing is, they've explained it to me, but I don't care. So it's just like right in one ear out the other. I don't care about it. But even I can use rockauto.com's catalog. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Whether it's your classic or daily driver, get everything you need in a few easy clicks delivered directly to your door. Right? Locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us box so that they know exactly who sent you. And I don't know about you, but I am fully hoping that I make money this weekend gambling, because I didn't last week, or I made some, but I didn't make enough last week. The week before that was terrible. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to make money on all of your sports action. It's how I bet literally multiple times a day. I don't know if I should tell you that, but multiple times a day. BetOnline covers award shows, TV shows, reality TV, if aliens will attack the planet this year, things like that. Real-time updated odds and props on almost anything you can imagine. It is the best way to place your bets, and it's 100% free to sign up. Head to the website or use your mobile device, which is how I like to bet, to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. Make sure to use promo code LOCKEDON, that is LOCKED, no space, ON. And now, like I mentioned, we're going to take a look at Marco Wilson exceeding expectations. And this is one of those moments where I was wrong, but I'm very happy that I was wrong. I think you guys know I have no problem saying that I was not very high on Marco Wilson, because he was one of those guys. Sorry, I shouldn't call him kids. He's a grown man. He was one of those guys where he was so good his freshman year. He got hurt. He was so inconsistent afterwards. And then, he would have just incredibly high peaks and incredibly low valleys. And I'm not talking about the shoot thing. Don't give a damn about the shoot thing. Doesn't matter. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about his play. It's not like he throws a shoe every week and that's a common occurrence. But, I had him as the 207th overall prospect in this past year's draft class. He went 137th overall in the fourth round to the Cardinals. But I had him as the 207th overall prospect. That's pretty low. I had him as the 26th overall corner. That's pretty low. Again, the shoe thing had nothing to do with his evaluation. It was his inconsistency that was so worrisome to me. He was one of those players where he's got a low floor, but a very high ceiling. And right now he's trending more towards getting to that ceiling than he is to the floor. Following the draft, I went on to Locked On Cardinals, and I was like, hey, they asked me, what does Marco Wilson have to do? If you don't know, Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy, Bo Brock, amazing guys. They asked me, what does Marco Wilson have to do, or what do the Cardinals have to do to make sure that Marco Wilson is a success? And I said, Marco Wilson's the kind of player where he can be great, but you've got to give him time to settle into the game. Don't pressure him to succeed early. You got to let him find his consistency, find his level, and kind of let him grow from there. Take your time with him, even if you give him a redshirt year. Blah, 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 blah. I was wrong. That's why I'm going with Marco Wilson today, by the way. I figured I'm going to be wrong on my offensive predictions. I'm going to be wrong on my defensive predictions. I'm going to be wrong on Marco Wilson. And I was wrong on my Marco Wilson predictions. But, I said, give him time, sit him, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He started week 1. He was the week 1 starter for the Cardinals. Granted, they've been banged up in the secondary. They got rid of some guys, but he started weeks 1 through 4. He got hurt in week 2. Didn't really play in week 2 because he got hurt. I think he played like 7 snaps in coverage. Missed most of the game, obviously. He didn't play in week 5. He was injured this past week. He did not play. But when he's targeted, quarterbacks have found success. He's given up the completions. He's given up a pretty good completion percentage. He's given up 3 touchdowns. He's given up just not even big plays necessarily. That's the biggest thing with him, is that he's not getting toasted over here. He's giving up contested catches. That's why it's like, yeah, if you look at the numbers, he doesn't look that great. If you watch the tape, he's not just leaving guys wide open here. He's struggled primarily in the red zone, which is a really bad spot to struggle because, that's where points come up a lot. So he's struggling in the red zone, which sucks. Like I mentioned, 3 touchdowns in 4 games played, but really 3.25 games played. So it's obviously a huge deal, but overall he's been a wild success. Like he's been way better than I gave him credit for going into the season. He's been way better than expectations have been set for him. Week 1 was his best game, and I say it was his best game because it was one of those games where Marshawn Lattimore can be explained. Where it's one of those games where he's on his guy. He's having a good day. It's a relatively quiet game. Marshawn Lattimore does that often. This past week was out of his mind, but he does that often where I'm sorry, you guys are Bucs fans. I'm sorry that I got to bring up a Saint here, but it's good that he's not getting his name called. It's one of those games. That's what he did week 1 because Marco Wilson was matched up with Julio Jones, and a lot of us thought he's going to murder him. Like Julio's going to murder Marco Wilson on live TV. And that didn't happen. Julio had a relatively quiet game when matched up with Marco Wilson. In week 4, Marco Wilson intercepted a pass from Matthew Stafford, who's having a near MVP campaign right now, but it was called back with a roughing the passer penalty. So it got negated, but the roughing call did not influence the completion or the interception to Marco Wilson. So he's been doing his thing. He's been working primarily on the boundary, and he's been well at it on the outside corner. Of course, that means. And I'm proud to say that through the first third of his rookie season so far, I have been dead wrong about Marco Wilson. I love being wrong about things like this. If I'm not high on a prospect and I'm wrong, I'm glad. I don't care if I'm wrong. I'm going to get things wrong. I'm glad that I'm wrong for thinking someone wouldn't succeed, and they do instantly. Hopefully he can reach his ceiling because, like I mentioned, he's one of those guys that he's got a low floor but a very high ceiling. So, and like I said, he's trending towards hitting his ceiling. So hopefully he can, because he will be a fantastic corner on the boundary if he ends up reaching his ceiling. He's someone who a lot of Gators fans are low on. A lot of the draft community was low on when he went in the 4th round. Everybody was like, "What the hell is happening here?" Because he's a physical tools kind of player, but he was so raw, so inconsistent. The shoe thing, people killed him for as if that was a character concern, as if he's just going around throwing shoes. And I mean, honestly, really, who throws a shoe? But he was doing that. I'm sorry. I tried not laughing at my own joke, but I did. But Marco Wilson, he's been exceptional given the expectations that were placed on him. So that's fantastic. I love being wrong about this, and he is going to just keep going up, up, up. So great for him. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. Tomorrow, it's preview time for Florida versus LSU. Now make your second listen Locked On SEC. Get all of your daily SEC news in less than 30 minutes with our SEC expert, Chris Gordy of Sports 790. It's free and available on all platforms. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. And you can find all of my written work with Whole Nine Sports. That is WHOLENINE Sports. And be sure to check out my pinned tweet and let Locked On know why Florida Gators, Gator Nation, have the best fan base in all of college football. And I will see you all tomorrow.